I'll give you this for them.
Yeah.
I want to tie you, but out in my office.
I really like that.
Oh, good.
They're all helpers, and we kind of sold it a couple times, but one guy couldn't get past it, so he was getting. Other guy just couldn't get the money.
Yeah.
That's why I just closed down. I didn't want the problem trying to separate the mold.
Yeah.
It's too young.
I think it's only like 48,000 for that.
This has, because the leaking, structural damage in the leak, and it will usually.
Okay.
You don't know yet if you have structural damage.
No, I don't know, but I wouldn't think so, but I don't know.
What's the product that Don Champagne used on his garage? The new
Yes,
building,
exactly.
On what part of it?
the roof and that,
Somebody has.
the side panels, they look like they're metal and metal, and styrofoam
Yes.
sprayed in between.
I got the license. Rigid. Oh, you got one.
Good, how are you?
Yeah, this is the product,
Who's that?
Don
Oh, live on
Champagne
YouTube.
owns.
I always thought this council got along pretty good.
Brand new.
So I wondered.
Panels are about this wide. Our metal is just unbelievable, it's metal on both sides. And it goes up against the building and that's it,
Forever.
forever.
For as long as we're gonna be around.
We're on.
Okay.
Okay. We're live and everybody who has to be here is here.
Okay, well, must be 6:30 somewhere then. Okay, so let's say it's 6:30, Tuesday, June 2nd, 2020. I'd like to thank everybody that has come here tonight. Just because I haven't seen so many of you for quite a long time, and even if we're apart, still in the same room, and I think that's great. I was wrong about, I thought the premier would have said we're up to 10 people by now, and instead today extended it till the end of the month. So he and I aren't on the same page, but I don't know, that's probably a pro for him because he's been doing a pretty good job. So anyway, we'll open the meeting. Is there any disclosure of pecuniary interest? Seeing none, we'll move on to staff reports. Most of the staff reports, I believe you have. Now, I've got fire department staff report. And if you look over that, if there's any questions, and Will's going to, what are you going to do, Will, after the meeting?
We're gonna pull the trailer and the UTV will be out for council to take a look at on their way out.
And then I can lock it up and
Second.
so if there's any questions about that, Will's here. If not, you have and staff. Oh, did you have a question, James,
Yes,
for Will?
for Will,
Okay.
when they did the park, his name is Steve. The guy that did the soft fascia,
Yes,
did he report any other stuff up there that needs to be changed or fixed?
no, did not report it.
He said there's, when I was talking to him when he was here, he said there's other stuff up there that needs to be fixed.
I will
And I
contact
told him,
them.
I asked him to write it down and then kind of put a ballpark figure down so that we have, he said there's a hole up there and somebody's patched it and they didn't patch it properly. It's gonna leak inside.
Okay, I will take care of that. Thank you.
Thank you, James. Now, is there anything else for Will? Okay, if you look at, just in the order they gave it to me, I have Dan's staff report as well. And calcium has been laid down, right? And the water is activating it as we speak. It's nice to see the fire department and the roads department work together, take care of the both landfills. Is there any other questions? We're looking, the other one I think you heard, and it's going to come up in Charles' staff report, or you've already read it, about grass roof, which is in Charles's, and we'll leave that one to last. So are there any questions for Dan?
Just, I hadn't been down by the museum. I hadn't noticed. Did you get all of the,
All end of it's done.
all the air conditioners are in each building?
Yeah,
Okay.
water's on, patio
Wonderful.
stones are down,
And it
grass
looks
is
great.
growing.
Yeah, it looks great in the front end. Good job.
I had seen Mike pull there today, but then I just stopped.
Okay.
Oh, yeah, just seen the bricks were piled up and that's it.
Monday, honestly, it's going to be done the last Wednesday. Now it's this Monday for sure.
For sure.
For sure.
I wanted to get it in before he got there, so we can butt up our stuff, butt up his stuff.
Then are you gonna go back and plant flowers next?
Well, it looks like that grass.
It's starting there now, yeah, it's starting to turn green.
Good. Okay, yeah, Dan has had a pretty long day. He's been on a ski hill changing culverts. And he just came in, I thought somebody might ask why it was so wet, but anyway. If you want to talk about the garage roof now rather than Charles, then you could.
Yeah, well,
For the
it's kind of a,
Oh, yeah.
it's fine, I'm good.
Okay.
Anyways, the garage roof is, it was leaking when I came on board, so we had it addressed. And they've taken some pictures and there's some, it's worn, the holes are like that in the roof from where the screws go into it, just over time wearing out, rusted out. So, I mean, they patched it up and the patch didn't work, and then they came back and repatched another spot, and now it's not leaking now. So, but he did say the roof is done and he sent pictures. So how long the patches will last, I don't know, but he gave me a quote on fixing it, replacing it. But I haven't got any other quotes yet, so.
Just a heads up.
Yeah, he gave us a heads up. He wasn't, when you see the pictures, the roof's in tough shape.
I think if you read the report, 47 years.
Yeah.
I think that's how old it is.
Yeah. So it's done well.
Yeah, for a metal roof like that type, that is pretty good. So again, not something that we anticipated, but it's time to get it done before it's leaking.
Really bad. Well, we'll see. I mean, see how, we'll let it go and see if it starts leaking anywhere else, but at least we have the heads up and we can start pricing it out for next year.
This was near the panel.
Yeah, it was dripping right over top of the electrical panel.
Have we even investigated what it would cost to replace the building? Or start dumping, hanging drinks in a haunted house, it's still a haunted house. Is there any other, if the roof was leaking, or any along the bottom of the structure, is that all rotted out?
I mean, we are gonna have to look at replacing the building sooner than later, because the trucks don't even fit in there.
I'm gonna reserve for that. On this budget.
It was designed for single axle trucks, I mean, we have to park everything in on an angle right now, and the plow trucks are only getting longer and bigger now, so. We can't, there's barely any, there's not even room to work, we gotta pull something out to do any kind of work on a vehicle in there, because it's jammed in there, so. Down the road, I guess, but we should be,
And these are the priorities.
yeah,
There are a few other priorities ahead of that.
yeah, oh, absolutely.
Oh, I just don't want to invest $50,000 and then $25,000 next year and then find out, okay,
Yeah.
when you do a building and spend $300,000, you go, wow, you're almost you're a third of your way there
New building.
to the building.
Keep
Oh, it'll be
patching,
more than that.
Keep patching.
keep patching.
We have no money, we ran out of money.
Put more money in the reserve.
Yeah, well,
Okay. Hey, let's move on to John Paul's. It's really upbeat, he's busy, and the existing computer server at the fitness center to the town office to run the existing access control system tomorrow. So that's great. You'll have a good test on your roof tonight. Brought that up. Anyway, just be glad you're not riding a boat. Chris,
Most of my work has been done on the landfill report and just keeping up with everyday stuff. So
okay, and
I'll save mine.
we're going to look at the landfill report, it's on the agenda. I think. Yes, there it is, number 5. And so we'll go to the last report I have is Charles. I believe everybody has a copy of that. I don't know, you might have just have it on your,
I gave it with you.
oh, you have a written copy with you here now, but you also got it on your phone earlier. And again, as he points out, you know, we've taken over the landfill as of, well, when Dan started. And so, you know, we have made steps still then, but that's just part of the position. But currently, we all know that the number one priority is still COVID-19 and the pandemic. And as I said, things are changing daily. Today it was 2 o'clock, that changed, instead of 1 o'clock. Tricked me. So, you know, they're looking at a longer term plan, and the first one being municipal administration. As long as COVID goes on, we cannot meet in the council chambers, because even with this number, we don't have the square footage or anything else to social distance. And so that is a problem. Also working in the office, and you know, I've been in there a couple of times, and as soon as you walk between the desks, you're too close, you know, and then you remind yourself, no, don't do that. I should put on a mask. So these are some of the things that office staff and Charles have looked at. So Charles, do you want to say anything about municipal administration?
When the council was okay with that. This is the council room now, so that John Paul and I would be in existing office and Chris would be separate from council room. We'll eventually allow people to come up the ramp, come in, but have that blocked off with a screen so that people can pay their taxes. They don't have to come in and contaminate the rest of the building. If we want to make an appointment for somebody for zoning, because most of it on the phone, then when it gets down with all the paper, people have to spread it and kind of have to look at it. So that was spot in the council room on the side. Council tables together, keep people apart, and we can meet by appointment there. Still not allowing the actual office, kitchen, bathroom, that area is going to be off limits for now. With that. We'll do a COVID-19 policy, like a written policy too. So Chris will be working on that. Just have to kind of think of little things like a logbook. If anybody does come in, you should have a logbook. So say somebody did get COVID, okay, this person, these people have been to the office, you could advise them, without having to try and remember who's there, right? I would rather just see check or online. Chris is thinking maybe of a two-state debit, like you can have a debit machine and you can have a pad outside that people could use.
On the other side of the screen. Yeah.
And we could order that, but when we send the tax bill, I don't know how fast we would get that now.
No, they come very fast.
Yeah.
Yeah, they'll come fast.
The two states.
Oh,
So
yeah.
this is our new, we haven't printed our new tax bills for this year. On the back, take cash out as an option. It's unnecessary nowadays.
We even get cash.
Yes.
Oh, really? So we pay a fee over and above to deposit the cash. Oh, don't I know? And then we have to take the cash. It costs us more to accept cash than
Something
the other
you can
means.
do.
When you look at check or debit.
Or online banking,
Well, actually, the majority now, it's almost getting most people pay.
like electronic.
Yeah.
Different.
Okay, electronic.
Electronically, yeah. And we have relationships with all the major banks.
And credit union.
So the planning, and as soon open up that we could make annual planning applications right now. It's the planning board, I'm sure they're working on a way of having their, we're kind of ahead of the game. We know how to, we could have a public meeting now. We could allow probably people to come in and make a presentation and then go at a public meeting and still be streaming it, so it would be open and transparent. So I think that we could have an application. So the province lets us. So next page, the mayor has asked me to
Cut off, Charles.
cut me off with the landfill. We'll talk about that when it comes out agenda item. Talk about the township garage. The updated draft of the proposed zoning bylaw paper copy will be available for your approval probably by the next meeting. What I do is I bring a copy and just give it to you for purposes because it's probably 100 pages plus the new mapping. Each council their own paper copy to look at. I have a conversation with the ministry people about our consent granting authority. They say it's, they've done their part in Sudbury, and not sure how long it'll take to get their rate. It's still on to the July 1st deadline. So we hope it's still a priority for her. This was Laura Holtby, Karen. The museum, most of the groundwork is completed. Then has promised to complete the block and brick by June 8th. And the cemeteries were just following the bereavement authority's regulations. Sign up there, the lot more than 5 in there at a time. And we don't have to make foundations in yet. And I don't think we've done any burial.
It's been,
Selling cemetery lots by appointment. Well, I will meet in person at the cemetery if somebody wants to view the cemetery lot. And go back to the office, they wait in their car, they'll do the paperwork, take it out, they sign. And that was, it's operating. Somebody still needs my service. And I'll give some people my home number if they go. I can, when I was working from home, I come down. Finding working from home, this kind of a job, it doesn't work. Somebody like Chris who's working on policies and that type of work, you can do that from home. Quite. So that, the rest of my report I'll talk about when we get to the landfill section in the agenda. That's my.
Okay, any questions for Charles?
Sorry, it's me. We haven't seen each other for so long.
And again, there was a lot to do and there's a lot to catch up on. And when we look at landfill, there's a lot there and there's going to be a lot more. But it's good. I think this time we get a chance to see everybody to get caught up and hopefully we can do this again, but you know, we'll see how it works. So we'll move on from staff reports, we'll go to committee reports and we'll start with Councilor Moore.
Okay, I had a Washington District Library Board meeting on May 25th. We have decided to defer the financial reports until our next meeting, so Marie can give us the absolute update on all the systems. I already talked to you about the fact that Chisholm has a chair. They haven't been using the regular cleaners of the library since it started. The staff is cleaning. 4 of our computers have been donated to families and 1 was sold. One of our board members, Stephen Boyle, has resigned from the library board. So we have plexiglass has been purchased for reopening, and shields for the computer keyboards have been ordered. We received 2 grants for students at 100%, and 1 grant is not 100% for a 3rd student to do. We reviewed pandemic policies, and our next meeting will be June. As far as the museum, Chris did inform me that we received 1 of the grants, so I just waited to find out when and if we're there to do cataloging.
Extended. I'm not sure if a student has to go back to
I'm not sure about the extent.
school, but like, see, you couldn't start till August. I think it was August, September, if they were available.
There's stipulations in our agreement for that funding though, that they are supervised. So
Oh, I get you.
so we have to cover
We have to have sheriff in there.
imagery.
What about
Our application, I'd have to go over that.
okay. Look into that because board members take turns in there. I'm not sure. Okay.
I think we already have the funding for it, Liz. I think we'd be better just put Cheryl in there. That way she would be assured to come back next year.
Oh, yes, if we could let those in there.
Yeah, I think that's probably.
Yeah. Oh, for sure.
Making social distance.
Yes, yes, there's 3 buildings there. So that would be. And there's lots for Cheryl to do, whether we're open to the public or not.
When at your library meeting, with basically a 2% shortfall,
Right.
did they come up with any alternatives? Okay,
Just wait and see what the other 2 councils have to say.
it'll be interesting. I haven't heard anything yet.
No.
I'm kind of waiting, and if we do, we could put it on the next agenda, but, you know, and we can discuss it and just, you know.
Mhm.
The one was, okay, let's see if you can work with 2% less. That was right off the top, but I said, well, maybe they could work with 1% more from each of the other 2 contributors. You know? That was suggested that that's something that we'll have to come to council and we'll have to discuss, but there'll be other discussion in the meantime, I'm sure.
Well, I did read that Chisholm was, the for anybody that wanted, their, grandparents wanted. Our population there was more French folks, so they are putting up with money, but.
Right. Yeah, and again, they're gonna pay, it says they'll pay 20% in 2020. So again, we're looking at next year. I don't even know if they, you know, how much we paid our installment for this, our first installment for the library, because they were thanked us.
Yes, they gave us a 1-year notice, so they're up in the full 20%.
Right, so, you know, we still have time. And I'm glad I'm pleased they came in at 18.
Yes, I'm glad that they're still part of this month.
Right. So we'll just have to figure it out. Okay, any questions for Councillor Moore? Okay, we'll move on to Councillor Marchant.
Nothing from the veterinary or the source water protection, but we did have a telephone conference business meeting for the planning board, trying to get some financial bylaw and some administrative bylaws straightened out that have never been really done. As far as it's never really established some of the real rates by a bylaw. Trying to straighten that out a bit. And we're working on trying to get a meeting going, but we're very concerned about people building if they can't get the property subdivided or some people are waiting on easements to get the property. We're hoping to have maybe a combination Zoom meeting at 250 Clark, will let us into the gymnasium. And then just let one applicant in at a time. And then if some of the people want, they can do it with Zoom. So we're trying to get some of the consents, and we've been waiting to hear from the Ministry of Housing Affairs about allowing this for meetings, because they've been very specific about it. It's been kind of loose on how it goes, and because of some of the extensions. Some people, it's already extending it, but we have to give them 2 weeks notice in order to put the signs back up. And, you know, to notice and make notice of a public meeting. We can't just do it the next day. So we're working on that. And it's good news that they're still hoping for July 1st.
Yeah.
I'll leave it with you, I'm sorry. Got it. Thank you.
See if the minister signs it, but said very positive, which is, that's positive. Okay. Councillor Anderson.
I'm still working a lot with the COVID-19 advisory group. So I have some information, and mostly the information is what you already know, is that there's so little clarity around any of the regulations for any of the businesses to reactivate that it's almost impossible to decipher. Yesterday, I spent the better part of the day calling almost every ministry, the OPP, the Service Ontario, Public Health Unit, Fidel's office, Forma, NODO, so all the organizations that have anything to do with this new restrictions, regulations, and opening. And absolutely not a single one of those 9 places I called, not a single one would tell me the answer. And they all indicated that they didn't know, and they were too afraid to tell anybody an answer because they didn't want it to be the wrong answer. Everything is moving very, very quickly in the media, and the OPP and public health and the OPP, public health, and one other organization had letters from the government that were dated May 14th and May 16th. I said that's light years away from today in the world of COVID. So it was not relevant at all. So I think one of the things, so for opening businesses, because there's such little clarity, they were saying that basically 2 things. One, the business can read through the regulations and determine it for themselves. Whatever they think that means, then they can go with that. But if they're wrong, then they still get hit with a fine, which could be up to $100,000. So that is an issue, right? It's going to dissuade people. There are in fact businesses in our own community that have opened. The OPP don't know what they would do with that. because they don't have clarity either. So they said, well, we don't know. I spoke with Public Health and NODO, and actually Jim Cherico was supposed to call me back today, but I think he's calling back tomorrow. And they're saying that the municipality and the public health can take action and decide to open, but you have to be unified on it. It can still be turned over, but you have a stronger case if that's what happens. So they've done that in Peterborough, and they've been able to open businesses, but the businesses then have to prove to the public health and to the municipality what steps they put in place in order to safely open so that, we're not, spreading, what is it called? Stop the spread. We're not going to spread this COVID. But it's a very crazy, wild world that we're living in right now. And I think the bottom line is, I think I know what are they calling it? It is the wild, wild west. And people are just doing what they think is best, as opposed to listening or trying to figure out what it is the government is actually saying. So it may come to the fact that this table will end up having to make decisions for businesses within our own community regarding whether or not they can open.
And we would do that with the aid of
Public health,
Public health.
I wouldn't say that we would ever do it.
And then would we have to run that through the provincial or just us with public health, and we just have to show them that?
That's what they did in Peterborough, us with public health. That's why I was talking to Jim Cherico first, to see, because if he says, I'm having no part of that, then we're scuppered. I mean, we can't do anything. So the reality is that because of the way that things have been opening, Northern tourism has taken probably the biggest hit in our region here. And the hotels and motels are now allowed to open. So Holiday Inn in North Bay is actually taking fishermen, and the little camps cannot take them. There's a huge outcry from the industry, and they're beating down every door they can at the ministry and at the government to try and get them to listen, to see reason that putting 500 people in one building at the Holiday Inn as opposed to spreading that out over 10 properties, really, how does that make any sense? It just doesn't. So, I mean, that has all been quite interesting to live through. I mean, today, Doug Ford said that the state of emergency has been extended until June 29th. And most people take that to mean no more businesses will open. Really what that means is that in a state of emergency, the province has access to funding that they wouldn't have if we weren't in a state of emergency. And that's really why they want to maintain that status. He did say today that because he's made the state of emergency longer, doesn't mean that he won't continue to open businesses. So I think that part can happen. There are some businesses that are in great jeopardy right now. Great jeopardy.
the other question that comes up is regional openings.
That's new, and they have talked about it, but they're not nailing it down. And again, in order to do it, they're looking to the industry to determine what are the parameters that you would put in place. Yeah, so I mean, it will come probably, but then when it comes, it's going to be with the question mark of, do I meet the parameters? Do I have to buy this? Do I have to get that?
Yes.
The season is so small, I would imagine that if Cherico says he'll work with the municipality tomorrow, he would want to meet with the county, would you not?
Yes, and I'm not exactly sure how any of that would work, since I personally am a camp owner. I would probably have to step out and then hope that the council would take the meeting and go with it. I happen to be in it because I was called to the COVID table. So I'm not exactly sure how any of that would work, but I can still bring information. So that's basically what I'm sharing today is that information.
It is. And every day, like I said 2 weeks ago, I was so positive that we'd be at 10 people today. And, and I mean, there are openings and things are opening and, we're still social distancing, but things that I thought would open. And regionally, I thought Northern Ontario is going to open up and they're going to do like they did in Quebec. Montreal's still closed. Toronto will stay closed, but they will open Northern Ontario or maybe the Ottawa Valley or something. And it just hasn't happened yet. And I don't understand it, but, mine is not to question government and we'll see what happens. It could be.
Because now all those student homes, they thought they were doing the best. Now.
We'll go back to the government because I don't know that, that's a real conundrum because, I mean, they had the information that they had at the time.
They thought they were doing the best.
Yeah. Now, if they weren't following the specific protocols that they had at the time, they may lose the case, but if they were following current protocols, then I don't know that they would have.
I guess the things just passed, like we shut down. But we stayed home for another week and somebody got COVID.
Right.
Whose fault was that?
Every time.
Okay. But thank you. And, you're right. It's an interesting time and we have to do what we can do. So we'll move on to Councillor Scott.
I haven't had any reports.
And Councillor Scott did bring up two things earlier this evening. And one is about the bridge study, which we have budgeted for, but the other half hasn't come yet. And I don't think the water's low enough on the South River yet.
No, but
Bang you around that current right now.
yeah, and I have talked to the engineer to make sure that keeps the ball rolling on getting some divers there and so we can get the footings inspected. So when I hear back from him, there we know.
Yes, and James also brought up.
The high-speed internet is always forefront for everybody. And one of the things we picked up from Good Roads was it's so important, a budget line item. And I'm asking for us next year to make that a budget line item. I think money's gonna come soon and they're gonna come and federal government's gonna say, I got this much. Provincial government says, I got this much. You got the rest. If we don't start having something, we may lose out or may not be able to get it.
Right, so it's the old shovel-ready deal,
And on their meetings. Once they don't have anything, they'll have money. It's going to be more directed towards collaborative with groups. That's why they're doing that group guy. It's more of a chance of getting some money for the area for high-speed internet for the group of municipalities. Like, it's millions of dollars. Yeah. So we could share it. Our township could have a share in collaborative, but we still budget a line for something into the pot.
And the other thing is, just like when we dealt with Net Spectrum in the last one, somebody said, well, it didn't cost you anything. Well, that's our road allowance and our property that it's built on. So that's worth money. And that was, what we used, So we did contribute, and where there's that possibility, we'll always have, road allowances or land and that kind of thing. But a line, budget line is probably a good idea so that if they do and come up and say, you need this much now, we don't go to reserves, we have some money there ready. So good idea, and we can put that in the next budget. So any questions for James?
One comment though, I think we should be able to really push this for mobile, I think mobile cell service for almost 2 weeks. I walked a certain spot in the yard. I didn't make the dump meeting that day because I couldn't get my voicemail, so John Wallace only looked down at 10.
Elected secretary.
Yeah.
Sometime in Bell, it was 5 days for them to come fix our landline. So, they don't fix them the next day, so there's gonna be a time when somebody's gonna be in dire straits with no coverage.
Yep. Yes, no, we definitely have to continue to work on that, you know.
We keep following up. How long, so they're going for the lower towers on the 522 corridor. Every once in a while, we try and figure out who's in charge of that, just to see if it's going to progress. But sadly, the one that at the command site on Toby Road, the person going to land there at the time objected to it. And they let them go to the bottom of the pile.
That Bell wouldn't want that spectrum, so.
Yeah.
And that's what they said, they just will not share, you know, which is,
Because that spectrum's not in the mobile business, or they're just strictly internet.
yeah, that's right.
Like, we get super internet. You know, guy next door, the Black Heimels, he's got super fast. He pays $200 a month, but that spectrum coverage is.
Supposedly it's good at the lake too, but
Still on Express View because
yeah, we're,
I had this thing where we're sold the camper now we didn't, so.
we're still on Terra.
So it's smile.
No, it's in the rear view, that's where I'm sitting right now. What is doing their thing and I'm just out of it.
Strange. Anyway, we have had an East Home meeting and, yes. So I guess the good news, the quarantine, and you heard that on local quarantine of the home by the local health unit was lifted last Thursday evening. The home is still on lockdown because of COVID-19, but there are no active cases in patients or staff. Natalie Bellemare, who is the administrator, has now retired. Steve Pekarsky is the acting administrator. The search is on hold for a new administrator because surprisingly, 2 of the candidates are in long-term care homes that are on lockdown as well. So hard to get them out and the issue of bringing them to us. So right now, we've shortlisted the candidates and contacted them all, and they've all stated that they are still interested. This is a troubling one. The home has still not received their funding for frontline workers that was promised 2 months ago, I guess now. So they still haven't got it. One seniors home in the area has paid it out of their reserves. And at our last meeting, that came up, you know, we could take the money out of reserves, but and I must admit, the Board of Management voted it down because we're afraid that what if we don't get that money and we have to come back to the taxpayers and say, guess what? We need 17%. We paid all this money out. So they have said now that it should come around first week of June. And we're hoping because we've had some really unhappy, you know, workers because they saw how much they were going to get and the bonuses, but we haven't got the money, so they don't have the money yet. And Castle Home was the only place that paid it out. And so it's made it tough for everybody else. So hopefully we have another meeting tomorrow with the new interim administrator. And I think that will come up again. And hopefully the money's here now, but it hasn't. Slow and coming, and it's a lot of money, like incredible amount to come out of pocket from a small board if we don't get it in the end, you know. So that's where we stand on that. And what we, so it's not happy, and we just hope that we get it soon because we will just retroactively bang, pay it, and that'll be it. And we did agree with the union, so the union and the board got together to buy T-shirts, which still isn't a substitute for thousands of dollars to frontline workers. And there are still staffing issues, of course, and PPE issues. But it's all is being done that they can do to ease the problems. There's no cross-pollination, so nobody can come from other homes or other, the work. When one person was diagnosed, one staff member, we had people that just quit. That didn't, I'm done. I'm not getting COVID. So they just quit. So that just caused a greater issue. But the rest of the staff, they're pitching in, more time, putting in extra time, everything like that. They've done a great job. I can't, thank the staff enough, but it would be great if the government sent that money and then we could actually thank the staff as much as, they need to be thanked. And you mentioned about this, 4 of the 5 homes that were investigated or by the military were private. And for years, we said that there's not enough money in long-term care. And Laurel Campbell talked to me the other day, and one of the things I pointed out, people in long-term care get so much money, somebody in a prison gets twice as much money for food. So, it needs to improve. And if it wasn't for Nipissing and the other municipalities that support East Home, we'd have the same problem. But we've supported them in their good home and a safe home. And so hopefully they will get through this and the government will investigate. They're going to investigate. And I think there will be more money in the future. We can only hope. We have a meeting tomorrow, and one of the main concerns is, as often, the government often does this, instead of putting thousands and thousands or millions of dollars into the system, instead they spend millions of dollars on more inspectors to come in and watch you not be able to do your job because you don't have enough money. So instead of putting more inspectors in, put the money in so you don't need the inspectors. And so as it happened last week, we were inspecting. And I know the premier said all the homes would be inspected again. We were inspected, but now the comment, and what people are really upset about is that inspector was at 3 other homes and came to East Home. You're not allowed to go from one home to another, but the inspector did. So did he have all the proper protocol? Did he have all the proper PPE? These are all the questions, and we sincerely hope so. And the one comment is, we shouldn't let the inspectors in. Yeah, the government doesn't give you any money, so it's a vicious circle. But I know that's going to come up tomorrow because people are saying, how do they get in? I can't get in to see my mother. I can wear PPE, but I can't get in. They got in, and they came from, Castleholme. So it will be interesting, and we'll see how this goes. And because the premier said there will be more inspections. And, again, I say give them enough money that they can do good enough job that you don't have to inspect, to the same level. But we've said that for years. But anyway, that's my East Home report. And now we're going to 2 meetings a month instead of 1. So until we get through this, and hopefully we'll interview soon, but it'll have to be an off-site interview as well. And again, we don't want to do it over the phone. So get these people here in person it'll be a chore. So that's where we're going for now. So any questions? Okay, let's move on. So to adopt the minutes of the meeting held May 19th. So number R 2020-110. I need a mover. Thank you. Councilor Moore and the seconder, Councilor Anderson. That was so much quicker. So number 2021-10, moved by Councilor Moore, seconded by Councilor Anderson. That the minutes of the meeting held May 19, 2020, be adopted as published. All in favor? Great. Carried. I'll keep it. So, you know. Right. And so we go on to the follow-up staff report, AECOM landfill presentation, May 19, 2020. So I believe everybody received status report and landfill status 2020. And I'm going to turn this over to Chris, and she can walk us through it, whatever, and answer questions as we go along. So Chris, the floor is yours.
Thank you. So does everybody have their report with them? Okay, so we'll start off with the remaining life calculations. There were a lot of things that we found in there that were different. Dan has concerns about Bear Creek, but we did speak to Lisa from AECOM again, and she assures us that their numbers stated of 37 years remaining are accurate.
Can she explain or someone explain why they're continually going up?
The only thing that I couldn't note was when they're doing an average, they're taking more numbers. So I'm not sure if their calculations are, I don't understand their calculations. It's what I came down to.
Yeah, I mean, I read the report. Trust me. I also have concerns about that, which then leads me back to maybe even a bigger concerns. Would we be able to get a second opinion? Because I think we have so much distrust now in the numbers that we're looking at, and they really are all over the map, and they're not really well explained. So I would think that we should maybe be looking for a second opinion to try and hammer down, you know, what will be closer to a real number.
In order to do that, that would be a substantial expense.
Yeah.
So what we can suggest is maybe doing an RFP or a request for proposal. We haven't gone out for an RFP for landfill maintenance for a very long time, never since I've been here. So we can certainly do that. We are in an agreement, a contract with AECOM until 2023. So there is a clause that we can step out of that agreement if we like, but we can certainly put together an RFP and have been working on a document.
Right, because I think that the information that we've gotten has been so inconsistent that we almost can't make a decision. Like, I mean, we really can't use these numbers for anything, because as soon as the constituent stops to ask us a question, we're going to go like, oh, I don't really know, because I can't tell. So I don't know. Anyways, sorry, I didn't want to interrupt at this early
That's
stage,
what I
but
want is questions so
but
that we can
that's
go through.
especially on this one here, where we're going from 26.735, now we're at 37. Like, how is it going up?
Okay, so in
And time is
2010,
marching
though,
on.
in 2010, that was a totally different method of calculation.
It
And
doesn't matter.
it made no sense at all. So they moved to a totally different way of doing it using the actual survey levels. And that happened in 2014. So that's when they started to add all those years together, average it out.
And the other thing is, what I gather, some years the garbage has been compacted before they come, and some years it haven't. So it's,
Sometimes there's
Also-
snow.
so right now we're gonna put a
Sometimes there's not.
standard in that, you know, by the end of October, the garbage is compacted, and whoever's gonna be coming to this, it's gonna be like the end of October, not November, December, when snow hits, and so it'll be a consistent, you know, grade check every year to see how much you're actually putting in.
That should always have been in play. That should have been, we pay these people a lot of money. And so that should have been a protocol for them to put to us. If we're failing, then fine, we're the ones who failed it, but I'm reading this report and we didn't fail it.
And they also said that the verbal reports for the money we're paying, a verbal report, that's happening.
No. Okay, so we get mine in, it's like this is there. Right? We've learned a lot, actually, in the last while, because annually we get a report for each landfill site. Because, again, I really haven't been in charge of them, but we went back, we started reading through them. There's a lot of written information. And once you start reading it and seeing their methodology, maybe we shouldn't shoot the messenger right away, because as we keep reading it, now we're starting to understand it more. And the more we read, the more we understand what they're doing and how they've been doing it. And up until 2017, we also, and that's what I was referring to, we used to get a written memo with recommendations. And we used to send that out, and that's kept in files of the person who would be looking after the landfill sites at the time. So, but we wasn't our information, right? But now we've gone back, and we've been probably back to 2009. Right? Some of them are this thick, and the more we read, the more we understand these figures, why they're jumping all over the place. Because at one time, I went in and changed that they were going to do a bag count. So every bag in, but some things, as you'll find, that aren't, the expectation can't be met. Like it's impossible to physically count the bags going into the dump, right? Because there's too much happening. Like sometimes there's 15, 20 people at the same time. However, that was the methodology. So what was happening, okay, so, and every day we write down how many bags came in. And all those were added up at the end of the year. Those were given to the consultant. And then they did their calculation, how many cubic meters of garbage went into the dump based on that bag count. So in 2009, they decided, they realized that isn't working, and then we started looking at it. So I was looking at it at the time, that can't be right, because looking at the figures and it's 10, 9, 10, 9, 10, 9. So they weren't really counting. They just put the figures in. So they went to doing a physical volume survey. Now, that volume survey, as Dan said, some years it's done before the dump was compacted. And for a few years, we were packing the dump with our excavator. And at least once a week, that's why we bought that tracked excavator. It's actually the dump's excavator, it's not the road department's excavator. And it was to pack the landfill, and it was used, but then there's no time, as I'll see later in my report. Person kept checking people coming into the dump, running an excavator all in a certain time period by themselves, right? So that stopped. Then some years it was down a bit because they were compacting it. So say that figure was, and this was always an average of 4 or 5 years. So some years the average was down. And if they compacted it just before they did the volume survey, it'd be way down. 1 year it's like 150. You know, it was compacted. And another year that came in January, the year that we had all the snow. So then there's 4 feet of snow on top of the survey. So that's going to affect the figures too. So what we have to do in the future is start saying October the 30th, that's the day we're going to do the survey. Like it has to get a certain, if they're doing the survey at a different time each year. So there's a whole bunch of things impacting the figures. So this is the figures aren't wrong, it's just the methodology was skewed.
Right, but we paid the experts to create that methodology, and then they didn't, and we just kept going all over the map with it. I think if we're paying out that kind of money, huge amount of money, I think that we deserve to have experts doing it and not us having to go through stacks and stacks of papers and reports that we're not the experts in to understand.
Based on our availability, maybe, I'm not sure why they would come at a certain time.
Yeah.
But
There again,
we're in
that
charge of it.
just solidifies my point again, is that we need the experts doing this so that, you know, and just having them for decades here, because we've had them and we have never put an RFP, doesn't mean that we should.
They haven't been here for decades.
A long time.
Since 2008, and that.
Okay, that's over.
Talking since the DP, and then it was.
Anyways, that's.
Yeah.
Like the April number is just, we're getting a lot more garbage now with the glass. and styrofoam. I noticed our bags of garbage are a lot bigger now than we got pickle jars and stuff in there. And that's spilling, and like I said last time on the phone, if we, you know, if it's compacted once a year, you're not gonna break the stuff down for it.
No, and, you know, going forward with, we're looking, you know, which way we go, but right now, if we bring in a renting machine, we'll go once a month. We'll get the slopes, you know, a longer slope makes a compactor pack a lot, not just over a bank. Because right now, when it went to Wolf Lake, there had been a 15-foot wall of garbage. So I mean, you can't compact that. So I mean, what the ultimate thing is to get it drawn out longer, and then the compactor can push it and compact at the same time, so it keeps running on it back and forth. Right now, it's so tight, you can't even do anything.
Have we done test holes after the compactor, anything on it in the past to see how much action there is down there?
Yeah, I haven't done it.
That would make more.
We don't have that.
When I read a month, I was thinking to myself, is a month, I know it's costly, but so are dumps. We should be thinking like 3 weeks.
I mean, I think if we get on top of it and we can spread the face of it out, I think, you know, then he's got, it's not all piled in one, you know, one spot. It's kind of over a distance where we can push and pack that. I mean, I think it's a starting point. I mean, if we find that it's not enough, then we can up it, but it's a starting point.
Might be an idea after they've gone, just to, the excavators there, just to dig and see if the glass is getting broken
Yeah,
down the bottom. Because I know with dirt, you can't compact more, gravel more than 30 centimeters.
right.
So that's, I'm wondering if,
Yeah, and I've been reading it. I mean, ultimately, it's about a 2-foot width that the compactor's optimal at.
so with a month,
Yeah, I think we can spread it out wider, like wider. It doesn't have to be all put right in, but give it a, you know, 56-foot phase, and then he can push it down and work that.
it'd make more sense to spread it rather than deep.
Right.
But the glass go in the blindfolds.
Sand.
Yeah, so why couldn't we just put it, why
We
couldn't?
could, or we could, you know, we could look at getting a bin for glass and we could break it with the excavator.
Yeah,
and
then you don't
dump
have to
it.
worry about the bulk.
Right.
Isn't North Bay using it for cover?
I don't know what North Bay is doing.
I
Ours was,
heard
ours
some
was
of
being
it
taken
using
into
glass
a
for
repurposing.
cover.
So no, I mean, there's some options. We could just put it right to the granulates and then grind it through, or we can break it and put it back on.
It is bulky and,
Yeah, no, it takes up space. I mean, that, and ultimately, that's what we're trying to, space is what we're looking for. I mean, we really need to clamp down on recycling. Recycling that's in the garbage bags.
well, I think the picture on this front page is.
Yeah, it says,
It's pretty telling, isn't it?
There's non-household garbage in there, there's textile, it's just a combination. of
Right,
everything.
and I mean,
Yeah,
the attendants have been cracking down on, especially at Bear Creek, anything big, anything that's not household garbage or in a household bag, it's going to Wolf Lake. Like, there's no more of this at that landfill. I mean, it just can't handle it. You want to?
Well, we're covering we cover all those points really in later on in the report with the different options, so I was just kind of listening. So basically, everyone around us has gone to a bag limit. Sudbury just went from 4 bags to 2. Everywhere a lot of the new residents that are moving in are asking us what our bag limit is. I think staff has discussed it, and we discussed it with ACOM, and they feel that the bag limit may be the way to go. To limit how much waste is coming into the landfill.
It would-
Then we'll know how much is coming in.
Right, and it would force recycling. I mean, ultimately, that's where we want to go.
These other municipalities have a bag limit, all have municipal pickup or contractor pickup. Do they have pickup, like Corson has pickup at the driveway and stuff?
Chisholm doesn't, but Chisholm has a punch card,
Yeah.
and they have a private contractor that does it and has the cards, yes.
What would the anticipated cost of going to that system be? I mean, take the dump aside, what would we have to pay to manage that system?
The 2-bag system with a card?
Yeah.
They would punch it at the end.
He's there already.
And we would make the cards the same as we do with the landfill entry permits. So there would be little to,
You present it, it gets punched to your amount of bags, and this way it ensures that you're looking in the vehicle, and how many bags are there, and then we can kind of see, you
What
know.
if I want to put 3 bags or 6 bags in?
you get, the way that the punch card works for Chisholm and other areas around us is you get so many bags per year. If you want to use 3 this week, that's fine. This is how many bags you get per year. It's based on an average.
At the end, when my card is full and I still have garbage to bring, then what happens? to
Well,
my
then
garbage?
council would have to make a decision if you want to do a pay by bag or how much.
Right, because I mean, I think those are the things that we kind of have to work our way through, because that has to be presented to Joe Public if this is the route we're going.
And other municipalities have bag tags. So for some municipalities that have curbside pickup, if you put out more than your limit of bags, you have to have the other bags tagged and you have to pay for it. So there has to be a monetary cost. They have to understand that the more we put into our landfill, the more it's going to cost us. So
I mean, I've never ran out past like that.
never did either. It's just,
For a year. But I mean, we're just trying to enforce the recycling end of it, more than anything. I mean, I've up at the landfill, because I've been spending quite a bit of time there, you watch people, they're like throwing 9, 10 bags at a crack. You know, it's
Look at
just,
all this garbage.
I only go to dump once every 3 months because of the distance.
right, I mean, I don't know that information, but you do see, if you spend some time up there, you do see a lot of people like,
Well, camps will, because that's,
no, and absolutely, I mean, businesses are gonna,
That's only for household garbage. Because like we have bags of twine and
right.
silent crap and stuff.
but the landfills, they haven't, like, all of that hasn't changed over the years. So they're still the same difference. Well, okay. These are just options for council to consider. We'll do whatever council instructs us to do. So I think we were talking about this, and I know Charles talks about it in his report as well, having 2 full-time staff members and limiting the number of vehicles in at one time, of one person checking the vehicle, checking the card, and then have a limit of a couple of them.
And they can have little 2-way radios that communicate back and forth. I mean, say, this guy's got this, and this, you know.
so you know, my answer question is, what's the cost of that?
Yeah.
Because there's a cost to that.
Yeah, there's a cost for everything.
And now we have to provide PPE for 2 people. We have to provide us a walkie-talkie. and we have to provide-
So the punch card, you're gonna have to have 2
$50. Yeah, no.
And so one of them gets thrown in and we have to replace them every month because they keep losing the darn things or whatever's happening.
If you punch cards, you're gonna have to have 2 people.
Why would you have to have 2 people with punch
Well, how
cards?
can they punch for a whole bunch of people and go and direct people where to put stuff?
Need 2 people at 2 different spots.
One person can't watch what's going on there.
No, because there was instructions to someone dumping, saying you can't dump there, and then the landfill attendant had to be dealing with somebody else, and all that stuff just got thrown out because he turned his back.
When we first hired that fellow for the odd days, people had good comments about how well
He's still there.
he was checking and
Yeah.
stuff.
It's still there, 3
You know,
days a week.
COVID has had some
3 hours a
effect
week.
on that.
Yeah, COVID ruined our plan.
Yeah.
Just, you're checking, it was, we were getting lots of calls at the office. And
It was like,
when we do the, when COVID came on, main thing is we have to stay away for now until we figure out what to do next, right? So
And
this
yeah,
is our next phase.
right, and as COVID goes on, we're all kind of adapting and figuring it out.
And limiting the number of cars up there would limit how many people are in one space, which is something they're doing.
And the one way is in place now.
Yeah, one way's in place, did it last week, so everybody's still,
COVID, actually, punch card isn't good at it now. We really should have, I kind of talked to others about it, we have, swipe cards. Number of bags. We have electricity there now, we could have a little computer system. Swipe. 10 bags, swipe, and not touching anything, because and the person who card, that person who press that card, punch the card, hand it back, closer to 6 feet. So right now, we couldn't have that system. Right now, unless the person, you're gonna have the person punch their own card as they come in, sort of thing, right? All the things we're thinking
People
about.
have gone for on a tray, pass it in, pass it out.
No, but those are things we have to think about now when we're dealing with the public. We can watch people a lot closer because you can still look at 6 feet away and see how many bags of garbage there are. Clear the garbage, check it, and make sure that people put the recycling in, the other person can be watching rather than throwing the burnables into the regular or throwing it just anywhere.
I was there on Monday and when I got there, there were 4 cars. One had brush, one had grindables, and I'm just, taking my time, whatever, but I had, some electronic, I had some grindable, some recyclable, and just, half a bag of garbage. But I could have tied one guy up all by myself. And by the time I left, there were 6 cars there. And, Dean's saying, okay, you go over here, this guy over here, and, it's like he's heading to the grindable, and then he just threw it in the household garbage because it was farther to walk, and I'm not saying anything because I don't need to get, scrap at that landfill, but they just can't watch them all, You have to limit the number that are coming in here. And I mean, it's gonna be awful because I've been there and again, Dean opens early, so if you're at the 9:30, 10 o'clock opening, there'll be 6 of us sitting there at 20 after 9 or even before that, all rolling in at once, And again, we're all retired, so we're busy. So we don't have time, so you're firing stuff and whatever. Although those big rocks slowed me down a bit.
No, it's not right.
Nice going, old Ford will make it. But anyway, I see the point. They just, and I would, same thing, you're on them, but you've got to be, somebody has to go basically with everybody. They go in like one at a time. So you have to have 2. And you're right, it's going to be an added expense. But how does that expense weigh to, we're never going to get another dump? And that lady, that second lady that did the presentation, Lisa was the first one, but the other one said, you can apply, but you're never going to get it.
Right, and that's what they had told me.
I think a second person would be a cheap investment.
It would be, I mean,
Already budgeted.
and the second person that's already there is very environmentally conscious. Like he's really big into recycling, so we'll be good at that. Once it's over the thing, or we figure out a way, I mean, he's all over that stuff.
Yeah, we budgeted for that person to be full-time.
I'm not saying don't get one.
No, but I just.
No, it's budgeted for this year.
Answering your question. You did-
You pull up and then you stop, and they tell you to go, and then there's a guy up there back you in. You have to chew on all the.
Well, and there's, I think it's Macker or one of the down the South River Way, like place your garbage there and they sort it.
Yeah.
So, I mean, yeah, I don't think that's an option. I wouldn't want that option, but I mean, I'm just saying that's how they scrutinize.
Yeah, they put the macro mold there.
Right.
Yeah.
But you have a dump card and you put your card in and that opens the gate
Yeah.
and that gets you in.
So they don't even, but they don't even get the chance to go throw their garbage over a bank or whatever. It's dumped there and they deal with it there. So I mean, you know, I just think we put another set of eyes there. That's gonna be. Financially, it's gonna be.
I have it now though, right? He's there half-time.
Yeah, I mean, you know, we're gonna take, you know, he's already half some hours at the landfill and he's with me already, so I mean.
Sorry, he's not really there half the time, because he's there to cover the landfill operator's lunch. But he's there
he's
alone.
there 12
So he's-
hours, right?
Yeah, 12 hours in the whole week, so he's only there 3 hours in the day, so he's covering 1 hour for lunch.
Right, so when that,
So there's a 2-hour coverage there.
but the same thing will happen if he becomes full-time too, though. He's still gonna be there by himself, and so will Dean be there by himself for the
For the
person taking their
lunches,
lunches,
yes.
yeah.
Just lunches and we.
That's the portion he's there.
I mean, again, what,
How many hours a week is, cover, no, how many hours to cover totally? I've never really had
Our
that,
landfill is open 40 hours a week.
40 hours, so we're within.
Yeah.
I've never had it up
We're
to
open
cover
6 days a
staff.
week.
One of the things I'd like to see, I don't know if it's possible or not, we've been in Bear Creek, we've seen the pegs.
right,
I'd like to see a peg to say, when we hit this mark, we're done. I think when you tell everybody, hey, you gotta do 2 bags, and then they look around and the peg's only this far off the existing ground, when you hit that level, we're closed. Or 6-foot level in, you know,
yeah, it gives you a visual.
gives you a visual spec when they start crying and you say, look, that's what's here.
That's coming for the next meeting. With my bill plan, they're going to be giving us detailed, a visual fill plan, for council to, I've asked them to give something I can give you. to look at. They're going to show the slopes, they're going to show the depth of the final grade and all that stuff on this fill plan. So that's coming.
Yeah, if, I don't know, maybe I'm too simple, but you put a visual stake in the corner and they say, when we get there, closed.
Oh,
I
well,
think
The
that
problem is
would
the
just
cells are
scare.
moving, right? So it's.
I think that all those cells are gonna turn to just like one.
I know.
I think when, you know, when the counselors came up to the landfill, when you see it, it's, yes, it hits you in the face.
It is, yeah.
And
How small that square is. And, you know, so I was told 2 meters, which is 6 feet, but then I was told, and the 5 meters is the top of the peak, okay? So let's just, you know, we're coming up on a 4-to-1 slope within a 1 acre square. I mean, it still doesn't leave you a lot of space.
No, that's, I mean, if you put that peg in the corner,
Yep.
an 8-foot 2x4. When we hit here at this corner, we're closed.
Right.
And when people can actually say, look at it and say, oh my,
Maybe we need to be second one.
maybe.
But they think that's the level. You'd have to put it in the middle of the town. You'd have to have a stake, like a flagpole with a mark on it.
I think it
There's
would
a
be the same
deep-
by having one of those thermometers that,
Yeah.
you know, people use for their fundraising and just put a goal there and say, here, we're at 50%, we're at 60%.
We are going
I
to
don't think
approve
we
the
have to
signage.
write in.
Yeah, I mean,
Really could have 100 years.
once we figure
Let's
out,
just clarify for the 100 years.
Yes.
The 100 years does not take into account when we close Bear Creek landfill, and it all starts going to that landfill. So immediately, you're gonna cut those years right in half and then go from there.
even our attention's at Bear Creek, but even the Wolf Lake is not, you know, it's not huge. It's
No.
2 acres. Or 2.2 acres.
I'm still, with all the conversation, I'm still at I would like a second opinion.
When,
Are there other companies around?
So it's anybody that does environmental.
Yeah, we can go out for an RFP.
another question I had, when they made this dump, when they said you need a 1 acre lot or however you said what we needed, at what date was that and what was the population? So when they said, here's your dump, this is all you should need, and now
It started that way.
the population has grown probably 10 or 12 times since then, is that still a feasible number from what they gave us? Are we living, is our dump living at the 1950 standards or the 40 standards and we're in 2000?
We did review of dumps in, what's our last COA?
2009.
2009.
Yeah.
That's the last time we did a complete review and life, because in 1980, we did one. And in 1980, we said it was going to be 5 years life after each dump site, but we rented an acre at Wolf Lake. We didn't own any land at that point. We had just like an acre up at Bear Creek site. Over the years, we purchased 40 acres at the site of Wolf Lake. We purchased 25 acres. Then we had it reevaluated. That's where the figures come from today. We have a 1.1 hectare dumping area at Wolf Lake, and it's one.
It bumped up to 1.1 there, but then now it's back down to 0.8.
1.1 hectare, which is like 2 acres of the dumping area, but there's still a buffer all around it.
Yeah.
And all the test wells. So all those things add to that annual cost, because everything we do is ×2. We have a lot of people who say, oh, it only costs us this much for our dump studies. We're doing everything ×2, like 2 dumps. Because we have 2 dumps, just 2 dumps, everything's twice as expensive, sort of.
What I'm trying to sneaky way is trying to get it expanded because the population is much greater than it is at that time. This, why do we need that?
Well, she even answered that question last week, saying it doesn't matter.
I don't care.
You're not getting expansion, you're not getting a new landfill.
They reduce, period.
I mean,
The way-
eventually they're gonna have to do something, because again, she said all the dumps are gonna be done in 20 years.
No problems.
Yeah, this is a province-wide issue.
So I mean, they're gonna have to do something in 20 years when all these landfills close, because not one place is gonna take everybody's garbage. You just can't.
You want to think back 1980, people had a garbage barrel in their backyard. Not many people went to the dump.
Yeah.
Just work.
And if you looked at, your tourist camps and everything, all of ours, they just had, you had your own dump
Yeah.
behind the house.
Yeah.
You put everything in there and you probably burnt it, or you covered it up with all your leaves and whatever, and some people didn't, and, it's still there, but, and maybe we end up going back to that, who knows, the way things are going.
Right.
Like, or they're gonna have some super burner where everything's gonna go and be crushed or burnt, or, because you can't even, like, even the United States doesn't want to take our garbage anymore, like for Toronto's garbage.
Yeah.
What happens when Toronto has no place to put it? I mean, we're worried about
They're already-
Nipissing,
They're done, they're done.
so.
Death rate to vaporize it.
Cherry Street. The Cherry Street draw down the lake.
I think Timmins has mentioned.
Well, and because I did mention, like, what about the incinerator, and prices astronomical to do that.
Because of the cost of the reburn.
I mean, yeah, again, and then I was calling around last week for about that, using wood chips on our landfill, so we can find somebody to supply that, but at one company, but I was just trying to keep the dirt out, we got a cover, but keep the dirt out, the wood chips would break down.
Where do we get our dirt from?
Now, if we're gonna be covered as much as we are, we're gonna have to purchase dirt, because I just can't use that much. I mean, I've been hauling everything that I've been digging out, ditching and roads, going to the landfill. It's not nice stuff, it's got big boulders, rocks.
Fills up the land.
Right, it takes space.
Other, in the future, maybe purchasing our own grinder and no more burning. Whatever comes in that pile gets ground and that's what goes out on the line cover.
It's something you can look at. I mean,
I granted we were pricing it. That's what we're doing, right?
For a brand new one,
You should get two, one for each dog.
but there are plenty using.
but I mean, you know, we've all seen the piles before the fire. Huge, how much brush and burnables come into that landfill. And they were stacked so high, the excavators couldn't even reach the top of them anymore.
The compactor.
That's the quickest solution.
Yeah, that and another person there watching the recycling, and those are your two cheapest options, and you're gonna get the best bang for your buck out of it.
Did you
Every month.
do an RFP for the compacting, or did you just go to Evans?
It's the only one that has one around this area. I mean.
Just United Rentals or them, don't have a sheet house.
No, I mean, you need something, they may have a sheet foot, but it's gonna be so
No
small,
bleeder.
right? I mean, they're only,
You can't have one with the rubber tires on the back. Go anywhere.
like this compactor has 4 big steeping wheels with sheet head. You know, the grinding things in.
Most municipalities can have their own grinders
Grinders, no, I mean, not even compactors.
or compactors. They don't
Yeah,
have their own
no,
compactor. So
no.
they're all, are they compacting? Not sure.
You run a dozer,
You read our annual report, it's always recommended in there, we need to do more grinding,
More packing.
more packing, more, we fill on more often,
Yeah.
that will stop the stuff from rolling around.
Well, I think Lisa said last week, she recommended once a week.
And we're gonna try it, we're gonna start doing that, and I mean, I'm worried about, once a week, that means you're putting that much more fill. It takes up more space.
Cost of bill.
Right.
I looked at both Charles said and what you said, Chris, and I know what Dan said too, and looking at the compaction, we've had this discussion about using, you know, hiring locals, that kind of stuff, and that was something that Dan and I talked about, and this is kind of on the landfill, but not, I've been questioned about, you know, do you hire people that live in our area, our taxpayers, at a higher rate? You pay more, but they're our taxpayers, or do you just go out and get the cheapest, you know, bang for your buck? You know? Do you hire the cheapest, which may not be the person in your, you know, that's something that we're gonna have to talk about later. And, you know, that's why I had talked about private session, but, you know, we just say, you know, one person in our area. So that's what you look at, because next we're gonna have to look at compaction. Like Dan said, there's only one compactor. So, and there's nobody local, nobody close that will even do that. Like North Bay will not float their stuff to us because they're busy all the time.
Yeah, they have like 3 or 4 they're running all the time.
Yeah.
They have a lot more.
Absolutely. And the reason I was kind of suggesting once a month for the compact is just sheer cost of floating it back.
I don't know what a vibrating packer on that excavator would do if it's shallow in between the sheet foot tanks.
I don't think a vibrator on an excavator would.
But it'd be between the, well, like saying doing it every week,
Right.
and then you bring
The
in
problem-
the sheep's foot once a month.
The problem with the excavator and dozers is the design, the way they're designed is to spread this pressure per square inch, so they don't put much pressure on.
I'm thinking of the, you know, the packing on head on the, because we had one when we had business and it, you know, used to pack gravel pretty good.
Yeah, but you're trying to pack a huge area with a 2-foot square piece. You're gonna be all day and you're gonna wreck your machine, you're gonna take years and years off your machine shaking it like that, doing it day in, day out.
Garbage, I don't agree with that. Then that's the cost. We're running that.
And
We
you're,
still
you
need
know,
to run the landfill.
the whole other thing is, you really can't be running that compactor when people, so that's why we're arranging it for Tuesdays, when the landfills are closed, spend half day each one right now, until we figure out this whole thing, I think it's the best option. And just do it Tuesdays, landfills are closed, nobody gonna get hurt or,
And I think that might be the best way to start.
for now, just, it's a start, right? I mean, it's.
I
and
think we
then-
have to do it because
Yes.
Absolutely,
even if we decide that we want to buy one,
right.
we have to do something between now and when that actually lands in our.
And, you know, I have been feeling around for prices, but like I said, refurbished ones they're here. The way to get it for you.
I saw one the other day, I was gonna bring that,
Oh, yeah?
at that auction site on, Highway level,
Oh, right.
right? They have one in there, Penny's like, hey, there's a compactor. I was like, well, if it's the truck.
On your diesel.
Yeah.
Now, when we look at this though, because, I mean, so right now, you're going to have to deal with, you know, the only person that has one locally.
Right.
And so you're gonna have to pay a floating fee
Each landfill.
and so we're gonna do it once a month. The only thing I'm looking at, if you had one, if we had one in the future, so it's at one dump this week.
Right.
So Tuesday, whatever, you just run the crap out of that dump, you know?
Yep.
And then next Tuesday, you know, so you're doing it weekly instead of monthly.